Good afternoon all, welcome. The webinar will be dialing you all in. So we'll just give it a minute or so for everybody to come in and get started. And usually this is where we say, hi, how are you? Nice to have participants joining us from all over the country for this particular one. Greetings, Joanne in the ACT. How are you going? Nice to see you. Good to see people up on the North Coast. Hope that you're all staying dry. Isn't it lovely to see the sun out today? I'm sure many of you are enjoying that. I can see Phil Wiper up there at Tweed. Did you get flooding as well, as many of us did? People out west, nice to see you as well, and a few dialing in from Victoria. That's nice. Great to see you all. Welcome. Lovely to have you with us. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded onto the ACS YouTube page, because we've been having a lot of inquiries about the Surveyors Academy, and so we wanted to bring this webinar to you as soon as we had a lot more information so that we could provide that update for you. So we'll get started. My name is Michelle Blitzovs. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at the Association of Consulting Surveyors, and we represent surveying firms all over Australia. So it's lovely to have members and non-members with us today. Great to have you here. I'll introduce to you Peter Cox, who is our newest employee at Consulting Surveyors National, and she is the National Training and Development Manager, and employed for the reasons of the introduction of this Surveyors Academy. So I'll just let you know a little bit more about Consulting Surveyors National on the next slide. Thanks, Peter. Our purpose at Consulting Surveyors is to promote the profession of surveying, and we seek to represent all of the businesses that are involved in surveying through training and building business acumen. And as I have travelled around Australia over recent years, we have heard the challenge of finding technical surveyors and training our technical surveyors. And so many of our states and territories do not have any vocational education available. And as a result of that, they are reliant on distance education, which is difficult, not impossible, as we've all learned during COVID. But the other feedback that we get is that the TAFEs, which is where most of our vocational education takes place in the Certificate and Diploma of Surveying, the TAFE content and quality is not at the level that is suitable for the businesses in surveying. And so Consulting Surveyors National took the call in the middle of last year to investigate our options for developing our own content. We partnered with the University of Southern Queensland to do that, and the Surveyors Trust came on board as well and have helped us out. There's been a couple of hiccups along the way, which Peter will share with you, but our application is currently in with ASQA, who are the authorising body under the government, federal government, to approve this content. And so I know the first thing you all want to know is, when will this be delivered? And we want to say, hopefully in the coming months, I hope. I keep saying maybe April. We were saying March, but we're still waiting, and it's already March. So he's hoping that by April we'll have it up and ready to be piloted, to be delivered later in the year. So Peter's going to take you through the reasons behind it. She's going to take you through the current content of what is planned and the delivery method and how this will actually be undertaken. So hopefully all of the questions that you have will be answered for you during this hour webinar, and we will be available afterwards to answer further questions. If you would like to post comments or questions, you can do that in the chat or in the Q&A below, and I will interrupt Peter to ask those questions of her as we go through. So please feel free to ask a question, and otherwise, Peter, I will hand it over to you to fill us in on what's happening. Oh, I'm supposed to do mission, or you're
mission?
Going to do that?
You can do mission.
I'm going to do mission. Okay, so just to be clear a little bit more about what we do at Consulting Surveyors National. You know, we offer workshops, seminars, conferences. By the way, we'll be in Port Douglas in June if you haven't already registered for that. We're also very active in the surveying task force. There are task forces all over the country that go into schools that promote a career in surveying. And one of the pathways into surveying, of course, is through the vocational education as a technician, and then going on and doing a degree and ultimately becoming registered or licensed is the goal there. We also have business academies where we are delivering business training. We started the Business Academy before the Surveyors Academy. Will we merge the two together? I don't know. Let's see what the future holds. But at the moment, we do have a Business Academy with that business series being offered in New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland. Check our website for details. And drum roll, coming in the next month or so is the Surveyors Academy, where we can directly be working with our businesses to get our technicians up to speed, qualified, and ready for delivery of what it is that you need them to do. So now it must be over to Peter.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on today. I'm going to jump through some of these slides quickly because I want to get more to the content of what we are actually doing with the Academy. But industry, I've probably nearly half and half in industry and education. I've worked for quite a few different companies, different experiences. I have a diploma, associate diploma in engineering surveying. I've got a degree in education, a few other little tickets along the way. 14 years in field, starting with RTA, RMS, Abbey Group, Obayashi. Worked for a private surveyor and for Cardno. So that's my experience in the field. So I'm not completely education wise there. 12 years at TAFE, was a teacher and a head teacher, spending time mostly at Ultimo TAFE and a little bit at Wollongong TAFE. So that's my brief background. Most of you know me anyway. So the Surveyors Academy. Why the Surveyors Academy? We're here to develop and train the next generation of technical surveyors. We found that there was a need to fill the gaps between TAFE and industry. We are an industry-based academy. We're working in partnership with MTO Group, who is a registered training organisation in Queensland. We have the support of the University of Southern Queensland and the Surveyors Trust, as Michelle already said. Now, we were working with University of Southern Queensland. Unfortunately, there was a few things that happened where we have to go and look elsewhere for our RTO status. We can't deliver by ourselves. It's a big process to get an RTO up and running. So we realised that getting the academy going as soon as possible was the main thing for industry at the moment. The Surveyors Academy is developed by surveying professionals for the industry. As I said, I have the background, but I work with a lot of people within industry to ensure that we actually get there what needs to be delivered within industry. I want to ensure that we have quality within our product, and that the skills are taught in connection with the profession, that we meet the standards of what industry requires. Part of the academy means that we have to comply with government regulations for vocational education. It's delivered by qualified trainers and assessors. We are delivering nationally, so it's not just New South Wales, we are looking across Australia. To deliver a national training package, we have to have it all approved by ASQA, which is part of the RTO responsibility. We're ensuring that we deliver specific expertise within the industry, that it is hands-on, and that we are gaining knowledge from qualified and experienced technical, registered and licensed surveyors for our course. We're delivering the certificate 4 in surveying and spatial information. We're focusing on the surveying major at the moment and the diploma of surveying. Part of the academy was trying to have the ability to deliver education to suit industry needs. So that when I go through what units were chosen, it wasn't chosen by me, it was chosen by an industry council that we've put together. Okay, so standard government models of education. Well, we've kind of realised that they only really cater for a really, really small percentage of the people within the industry. So we are looking to be able to provide a model that will help people through the process to gain their qualifications. We're working with the businesses and the individuals to get the right training and education to set them up for success in the future. So we're turning basically the whole educational model on its head to try and create something that is customer and student centric. Part of my industry council that I have together is a group of surveyors who have been willing to step up and meet with me and give me their feedback on getting this right, getting the qualifications, getting the units that we need to be able to deliver a successful program. So we have a really good mix of people from not only New South Wales, but we have ACT, Queensland, Tasmania, and I've spoken to a few people in other states as well. So I'd like to thank all of those gentlemen who have sat in meetings with me over this time. Why the Academy? Industry needs. Michelle last year took a lot of phone calls and emails saying that they were not impressed with what was being delivered at the moment, that there needs to be more, that there needs to be something different that suits the industry. A new training package was brought out, and it now provides a little bit more flexibility in what can be delivered. This is not new for Consulting Surveyors National or for Association of Consulting Surveyors New South Wales. The first time it was thought about was in 2015. So it just never got off the ground. So with all of the issues that we've had over the past couple of years with the education, it's come about, and I've been lucky enough to be selected to help get this off the ground. So we're not replacing TAFE. We're just providing an alternative to what they deliver. Quickly, just going through, there are issues across the board when it comes to your education. We have government issues, we have the TAFE issues, industry, you name it. It's not just one little thing that causes the problems with what's going on in education at the moment. So there's no one blame for anywhere. It's just trying to make the best of what we can to provide industry with the qualifications to get people skilled. We've got our skills shortage, which I hear from every state, and not just in Australia, it's across the world. But we have people just crying out, looking for people. So for me, the way that I've developed this program is that you can bring people in and start training them and get them educated as they're working in the field. Part of the education options for universities, I just threw this in here just so that everybody can see what we're looking at when it comes to the education at the higher level of the ATARs, of people actually being able to get into a university. So we're looking at quite high ATARs. So if we can build a bridge between the vocational and the universities, it's going to make that step easier moving forward to get people registered, which is our end goal. Vocational education for surveying is only taught in New South Wales in 4 locations. You've got Ultimo, Newcastle, Wollongong and NEC Thurgoona, which is down in Albury. We then have South Australia, Western Australia, TAFE, RMIT in Victoria. And as Michelle stated earlier, Queensland, Northern Territory, Tasmania, ACT, they have nothing. So we're hoping that we can provide something for those areas, and for other areas in regional where it makes it hard to do your online delivery training. So our RTO, MTO group, they're going to provide us with the learning management system, the student management system, and they have the RTO number that we can actually deliver under, which enables us to actually give our learners a diploma or a certificate for, which for me is the end goal of getting them qualified so that they can decide where they want to move on to next. We have the support for the development through Consulting Surveyors National, Surveyors Trust and the University of Southern Queensland, who have provided their resources and some people to help deliver our resources. This is the big issue that we have within education is teachers. I've been lucky enough that I've had people contact me who want to be teachers or who are teachers or who actually hold a qualification to deliver in the vet sector. To deliver in the vet sector, you have to have your Certificate 4 in training and assessment. So this is one of the biggest hurdles that we have in delivery within vet sector. You have to have this qualification. It doesn't matter if you have a degree in surveying, project management, whatever it may be. This is the key to actually being able to deliver. So I'm lucky enough, as I said, I've got 6 people qualified, and I also have more people who have put their hand up to say that they're interested in possibly doing it to help deliver and help support the Surveyors Academy. There's different options we can do: get your whole qualification, become an assessor, a presenter, trainer and presenter. We also are looking at guest lecturers, and I have a list of surveyors who are also willing to be guest lecturers or look at getting their qualifications. So if any of you are interested, feel free to send me an email later on and I'll be happy to have a chat with you on that. I've also spoken to some of our major equipment providers, so Position Partners, Magnet Enterprises, the free use of equipment when needed. Trimble, we have Trimble TBC licenses, free equipment use, Leica with equipment hire, and 12D with educational software support as well. So I'm looking at the different ways that we can utilize the equipment when needed and how we're going to use the software to suit industry as we move through the courses. Now about the program, it's a pilot program. I cannot stipulate that enough. This is the first time this has ever been delivered in Australia this way. I was hoping to already have it up and running. Unfortunately, it's not, and I cannot give a date, but I am hoping that it will be soon. And I will say that I will keep pushing and fighting until we do get it up and running. So there's no if buts about it. We will be delivering at some stage this year. So as I said, we're delivering the Certificate 4 in Surveying and Spatial Information, majoring in surveying. We have our Diploma of Surveying. Part of this program, the pilot program, is that you must be working full-time within industry. You must have a supervising surveyor. Now that's a surveyor who is either a technical surveyor with a diploma or a higher qualification with at least 5 years experience within industry, because it is work-based learning. You are learning the practical side of the surveying out in the field as you work each day. So you need to have somebody there to help guide you and mentor you. During that time, you will be collecting evidence as part of the course. You will be completing assessments, whether they're work-based, online, or self-directed, and we will have an RPL, recognition of prior learning, available to people who wish to go down that route. And I will say that it is not easy. So have a think about that and have a chat with me if you want to go down that route. We're looking at gap skilling, we're looking at upskilling, and we're looking at our pathways to higher education.
So Peter, just before can you just jump back to that slide?
Certainly.
I just really want to point out why this is very important. So just to be clear, we are not offering the same program that you can get at TAFE, whereby you just send your students to TAFE, they go to TAFE, they do their days at TAFE, they come back, they work in and out of it, 2 or 3 days at TAFE, they're back with you. This is an on-the-job training program that we are offering. And these rules that we're putting in place are industry-specific rules. So if you choose to send your students through the Surveyors Academy, these are the rules that we're setting up. So these are not vocational education rules. These are not the same rules as TAFE. These are our rules if you want to come through our program. And the reason these rules are going to be in place is because of feedback that we have received from the various firms that are out there in surveying. So feedback that I don't know what they're teaching them at TAFE, they're not learning anything, what are they getting, etc., etc. We're trying to overcome that. So we're saying this is an on-the-job, skills-based industry delivery for you to help upskill them to get them to that level. The RPL components are, we think, and we know this from anecdotally, I don't actually have the numbers, but anecdotally we know that many of our firms and many of you on the call have people in your firms who are surveyors with no qualifications. And because going through the diploma has been so onerous and really you don't feel like they're going to learn anything and it's a waste of time and energy. What we're saying to you is that this program will give you the quality education that you need with the relevant training that will get you through to be, it won't be a waste of time. It will be an upskilling. There will be some gaps that will be filled in and they will get the piece of paper that they currently don't have. From our advocacy and all of the work that we do at Consulting Surveyors, writing on the wall, I think at some point, all state and territory governments are going to require people on the job to have, people on a job site to have some level of qualification. At some point in the future, I believe that it will not be suitable just to say, I'm working under a registered or licensed surveyor. They will say, what qualification do you have? And I believe you must have a qualification. Now, I've got a meeting a little later today with the Surveyor General in the ACT, and they are looking at bringing in legislation there that requires you to have a qualification before you go on any job site. So this is not some, predictor of doom. This is actually being talked about at government. And so this will become necessary. We need to get this program in so that you can get your staff fully trained and equipped over a period of time. You're not going to be able to send all of your staff through at once. We just don't have the capacity for that. But over time, you can get all of your staff through. But what we're saying to you is that you can't just enroll them in a course and leave it all up to us. You have to play a part in this education as well, because you have the experience, you have the expertise, you have the knowledge, and this is an industry-led process. Just the upskilling and gap skills, Peter's going to show you some of the content in the course, and we think that there could be some things, I know you might be shocked to know this, but there might be some things even a registered surveyor or a licensed surveyor could learn. Things that weren't taught maybe when you went to uni or when you went through TAFE. How about that? Maybe some new concepts and some new training that we could teach you. So that will be available as time goes on. There could be modules that we could deliver for industry as well. So just really wanted to jump in and add that little bit of context. There's a question here which I'll answer now as we keep going because we're doing pretty well for time. Have there been discussions with University of Newcastle and New South Wales if they'll provide RPL once completed? We'll get to that. Obviously USQ. So one of the challenges that we have in the TAFE sector or in vocational education is that you get a score of competent or not competent, and that's it. Now that doesn't work for our universities. They need a score or they need a level or they need a grade of some description. Now I have worked very strongly with Peter about this. We have many debates about this, and we will work with you and we will work with the universities to say, what do you need us to provide you so that you can transition our diploma graduate students into the degree programs. And I'm this afternoon working on the competency standard submission for CRS bands to say, wouldn't it be good if it was acknowledged that a diploma equaled 1 year towards the degree? Wouldn't that be great? Let's see if we can get that through as well. So there's quite a process about this. This is just the first stepping stone in what will be, a long-term process, but we've got to keep pushing away so that we are actually providing what it is that industry needs. Okay, Peter, back to the slides.
Oh, thank you. Okay, requirements of registration. So as I said, we need to have an RTO status, which is MTO group in Queensland. Part of getting the course up and running is that we have to have complete documentation. We need the industry support. We have that. The TAS, which is the training assessment strategies, that is how we're going to deliver the programs. That's done. That's in with ASQA at the moment. So that's basically what we're waiting on, is their approval or for them to come back and say, we want to have a look at what you're delivering and then we can say yes or no, or you need to add, or whatever it may be. And part of that, of what we need to do, is every unit has a requirement of learner resources, the assessments, marking guides, learner guides, teacher guides, assessment and resource matrix. Now, I have to actually have teacher qualifications, and I have to match the teacher qualifications to each unit that they deliver, as well as making sure that we cover all of the information in each of the units. So it's just not a small job, and this is why it's taking so long. It's not a simple, oh, yep, we're going to do a course and we'll just get it up straight away. I'll also be providing employer guides, student and supervisor guides, and the data evidence collection methods. So as Michelle said, and as I've stated, it is a work-based program. You guys are the ones that will be helping and teaching these learners. So they have to collect their evidence. You need to know what's required. The students need to know what they need to be learning and collecting as well. So there's a lot of paperwork behind what we're doing when it comes to actually getting the courses. And it's not just one, it's the two up and running. Okay, this is what scares me the most, I think, out of the whole thing, is that so far since August last year, we've got over 100 potential students. And I've broken it down for you to give you an idea of where we're at so far. ACT has 3, New South Wales, we have 60, Queensland 27, Tasmania 3, Victoria 10, Western Australia and Northern Territory 1. Of those 100 plus students, we've got 40 that want to do the certificate 4, 50 that want to do the diploma, and there's 10 or so people that want to do the RPL option. So I can't take all of you at the moment.
Now, I'm just going to say, when we proposed this to the Consulting Surveyors National Board, we worked it out on a budget of what if we got 20 in the certificate and 20 in the diploma? That'd be really good. So clearly we are oversubscribed, and I'll bet there are people on this call that said, oh, we haven't expressed interest yet, but I've got 3 people that I want to do it. And I'm hearing that all the time. So we know that there are hundreds of people out there that need to do this. You just don't all need to do it this year. Just saying.
No. Thanks for saying that. So it's a pilot program, as I stipulated. We are going to have hurdles. There are going to be things that aren't going to work, or we're going to have to work out a better way of doing it or a different way. So I can't take everybody in the first round. As Michelle said, we sort of looked at 20. I want to have a maximum of 25 to 30 students in each course. And that is a maximum, with the RPL looking at being assessed separately. So there is, and there will be, a waiting list. But don't stress about that, because you will get in and you will get to start doing your learning to get towards qualifications.
And look, I also just want to add, we appreciate that the majority are coming from New South Wales, and we know that that is because of the issues with New South Wales TAFE. But we, as Consulting Surveyors National, need to prioritise the states that actually have no training available at all. So I was in the Northern Territory last week, and there's a huge cry to have something there. So, you know, we do need to prioritise that. And of course, we've been working with the ACT on this, and we actually worked really closely with TAFE New South Wales to try and get a course up. We worked with CIT to try and get a course up, and it just wouldn't fly. And so that's why, you know, those states and territories will probably get priority into the first round. So I'm sorry, I know for those of you who said, yeah, but I signed up on the 1st of August when you first told me I could express interest. I understand that, but we just are going to need to give priority at a national level around the place to the states, including Queensland, where there is no course available. And so there's a comment here about, you know, students at Canberra having a job in the industry or in associated industries. I will also let you know it's not just surveying companies that are approaching us. We've been approached by 2 in construction/engineering areas that also want to run their students through the surveying module because they do surveying on their construction site. So yeah, great point, Peter. We understand that, and we will also seek to include them in that space and make sure that we are filling that gap where we can. Again, we're going to have to trial things and see how it works. So thanks for that feedback. Back to you, Peter.
Yeah, thanks you. Who are the people that have inquired about the course? Full-time employees. There are people who are wanting traineeships. We've got employment of school leavers. I've had people who are in year 12, well, last year, who are saying, I want to get into surveying. What do I need to do to join the academy? And they've been sent off to find a surveyor in their area so that they can get signed up, start working, and they've put their name down for the academy as well. We've got the upskilling of existing workers, and we've got people who want career change. There's probably lots more. They're the main ones that have contacted me as to why they want to join the academy. The delivery mode is work-based, working full-time, supervising surveyor, and you will be studying 1 day a week. This has been a big discussion that I've had with industry, and I've come to the conclusion that we need to allow 1 day a week where you need to let your employees come online for classes. So Cert 4 is Monday, diplomas will be Tuesday, and then due to the hours of delivery that we need for the diploma, you may have an evening where you will need to attend classes as well. The classes are online. We do have the training room in at York Street, and I will be there on the Mondays and Tuesdays. So if anybody ever wanted to come in and sit in a classroom and do the classes that way, the teachers will be online because they are all over Australia, but I will be in York Street in our training room for support for anybody who wants to actually come face to face. Our classes are going to be teacher-led. So you won't be just jumping online, getting on an online platform and going through videos and reading things on your own. There may be times where there will be things that you need to watch or read before or after a class, but you will have a teacher, and you will have a teacher there on that Monday or that Tuesday delivering to you so that you can actually ask questions and learn. Evidence collection is vital to what we're doing, and I have an app that will be used where your employees, the students, can actually take snapshots, take videos, upload them into this app, and actually state what it relates to within the training package so that you can start gathering evidence to meet all of the criteria that we need for to make you competent within this course. There'll be online assessments, there'll be video assessments. As I said, we've got our GAP training and our RPL.
I also want to say that there'll also be, from time to time, face-to-face assessment. So currently the system is that you have to send your students to TAFE. And I've spoken to many, particularly around the Albury, that have to send their students to Albury. I was chatting to somebody in Darwin last week that had to send their student to Albury to do their assessment, to do their training. We're turning that on its head. I will send Peter to you. She's very excited about this travel around the country. There may be others also who may be in their caravans or whatever it is they've got that will drive around the country to do these assessments. At different times, there might be like survey camps or intensives that we might do as well. But whilst we have a base of operation in Sydney, you know, and there may be an opportunity to come to Sydney for a survey intensive or whatever, that is not our primary driving mechanism here. Delivery is in your workplace. So they are on the job with you at all times, and you will give them the day off to do the study, the 1 day that they need to be online doing their teacher-led training. But we will come to you to do the assessment for what can't be done on video and online. Not all of it can be done that way. Some of it we're actually going to need to see that they actually know what they're doing, right? But we will come to you wherever you are in Australia, right? We can fly there, drive there, whatever. You can get there, we can get there. It's a very significant differentiation of our model.
Sure. Delivery. Okay, so being in education for 12 plus years, I have learnt very quickly that you do not learn everything from the educational delivery side. This is something that a lot of employers don't seem to understand either. They think that if they go to TAFE, if they go to college, if they go to university, that they should learn everything and they should know everything. It's not the case. We give you the foundations. We teach you the basics. You will not learn everything. No matter where you go to, you will not learn everything on the educational side. You learn by working, by being shown how to do things out in the field, doing them day to day. So that's why we've started the model that we're doing, is that they are with you, you are teaching them, they're doing it every day, not a little practical 1 day a week, things like that. Learning isn't easy. It's never easy. You need to find that balance of both. So we need to look at the time that the learner and the supervising surveyor have together, the time that the learner has with the teachers. So it's a balancing act. As I said, there's going to be hurdles, but we will work it out. We will work out what is suitable for the individual. We're looking at the consistency for everybody in Australia to learn the same quality and quantity of information. Yes, your field work might be different. Yes, you might work in a different part of the industry. You might be cadastral, you might be engineering, you might be infrastructure, whatever it is. We will look at what you are focused on in your business, and then we will work out how you get the training in the other areas. I've got companies already who said that they are willing to do to have other people come in and spend a day, 3 days, a week working with their sections, whether it's the utility locations or cadastral, whatever it may be. So there is a way around it. If there's a problem, I will solve it.
And there's a question here about, the comment that I made about, traveling around for the assessment and those sorts of things. We're not doing this to make money.
No.
We're doing this to provide quality staff, quality trained staff for your businesses. So yes, it will be hugely costly and capacity and getting everywhere will be quite difficult. But eventually, hopefully, we'll have more of you that will be in the training and assessment. And I could go on and on about how I think that program's broken, but I'm working on that from an advocacy perspective with the government anyway. Spoke to a minister about it yesterday. But ideally, we will have a trainer and assessor in every state. Right now, we've got a couple, and we do have people across the states and in the territories who do have that training qualification. So hopefully we can share that around. And as this grows, hopefully more of you will come through. So, but again, yes, it'll be timely. Yes, it'll be costly, but this is what the industry needs. This is what we're going to do.
Okay. Our certificate for in surveying and spatial information services. A new training package means that you need to pick electives. So I went through the new course and chose a heap of units that I thought would be suitable. I then went to my industry council, we sat down and we went through them all and worked out what would be good, what wouldn't be good, why we've got this one in, why didn't you put this one in, blah, 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 blah. And we've ended up with what we have here. So for the certificate 4, there's 3 core units. You've got your perform simple surveying and spatial computations, collect spatial data using GNSS, and your operate spatial software applications. We then have the electives from the surveying section. So we've got produce basic plans, operate surveying equipment, perform surveying computations, CAD, collect spatial data using a total station, and set out site and building works. We then have our general electives, environmental, basic maps, GIS, applying mathematics, land tenure and history, and developing spreadsheets for spatial data. So this is what's been chosen by industry. So some of these overlap, which is great. Some of them we're going to need to deliver separately in their own unit. And these are the sorts of things that we're looking at that you need to collect your evidence for out in the field. Some of it is done solely within our 1 day of learning.
Now, I'm just going to jump in there and say that I was actively involved, in fact, chaired the committee that put the training package together. And the training package has changed. It is different. That's why it's a certificate for in surveying and spatial information with a major in surveying or major in spatial information. And so you have the core, which everybody has to do in surveying and spatial. And then you choose your electives where you can specialise. And then there's some general stuff that goes across both. Now, the mathematical techniques was something that industry fed back so strongly that they just don't understand basic maths, and we need to make sure that that's implemented. So that's a significantly new course, a new unit that's been added. And, you know, look, we took out things like how to pack the truck. Like, seriously, that was in the old course. You could have a unit on how to pack the truck. Now, I know some of you tell me that they still don't know how to pack the truck and they don't know how to clean the truck and da-da-da-da. But you can train them on that. We don't need
That's
to.
not our job.
Not our job. That's right.
Okay, and then moving on to the diploma, we had a bit more of a discussion about these ones. So what we have is our core. So there's 8 core units, and then we have the 8 electives. So 16 units all up that we need to deliver for the diploma. The electives, I'll just look at the electives. The set out roads and stormwater systems, integrate surveying data sets, apply technical maths, undertake project work, capture new spatial data, produce surveying drawings, conduct identification surveys, and compile and check survey plans. There are other units that could have been chosen, but in the discussions that we had, this is what we came up with, that we were trying to choose electives that would suit everybody. So we can't always please everybody.
Well, that's right. And also, we understand surveyors move around the country. So there's quite a discussion about ident surveys, for example. You know, what does that mean? And we don't all do it. And terminology is different in different states and territories and so on and so on. Look, that's a whole nother problem that we've got, right? We've got this terminology issue around the country that I would love to see us solve, because, you know, it would just be good, wouldn't it? But the point is that surveyors can move around and they can go from state to state. The other thing is, if we want to say that if you've done the diploma, that's the equivalent of 1 year at university, then we've got to teach these basic components. We've got to make sure that they've got this understanding so that they can get through. There was quite a discussion when we were developing the training package about subsurface utility information. Is that really in the surveyor's purview? Is it not? Well, it needs to be. And transport pushed very, very strongly for that. Transport everywhere wants surveyors to understand about that, and we all know why. So, you know, engineering, then some states you don't do as much in the engineering space as other states. But again, we're trying to build holistic surveyors. When you go through a course, any course, you learn a whole range of things that you may or may not specialise in later and go on and do a degree in later. But you need to have the basics understandings of all of those things. So I think that whether you agree or disagree, this is the course content, this is what we've chosen. When it comes to an area that you say, yeah, but we don't do that, and I don't know how to oversee this and that's the piece where we will do survey camps or intensives or whatever it might be, so that we can help the particular people. That's why we're saying this is a very individual program, that you can say to us, but we don't set out roads and stormwater systems. No problem. There'll be a group of them that don't do that, firms that don't do it. We'll bring them together. We'll run them specially through something. So don't panic about this, but we're trying to create holistic students who know how to do surveying. I know, unique concept.
What I will say too is that we're not delivering the certificate 3. We're only delivering the certificate 4 and the diploma. We've chosen to pull some of the foundation units that we need from the certificate 3 into the certificate 4 because you're working in industry. So we felt that there was no need to deliver the certificate 3. We're taking longer to deliver the certificate 4, but covering the foundation units that we need to within that certificate 4. For the diploma, you must have your certificate 4 in surveying or surveying and spatial information to actually go into the diploma. So if you don't have it, that's where you've got to start, unless you've got experience, and that needs to be determined through competency conversations before you even enroll into the diploma. We don't want to, or I don't want to put anybody into the diploma and set them up to fail. So my goal, my aim is to ensure that whoever comes through the academy is getting the qualifications, the understanding, and coming out of it feeling confident that they can go out and survey. Okay, I'm just going to go through very quickly this part of the unit competency breakdown. So as I said, Certificate 4 has 15 units. The diploma has 16 units. This is one unit. And I just wanted to explain a little bit about the unit and what we have to do and why we have to do it. So every unit has a breakdown of an application. It states what this unit is about. So this one for operate surveying equipment, the unit specifies the skills and knowledge required to use a range of surveying equipment for data capture or spatial data setup. Includes selecting and setting up operating surveying equipment to perform basic measurements and recording, calculating horizontal and vertical information. It also validates and checking data accuracy, performing basic data reductions and manipulation using software. So it's giving you a brief outline of what this unit is about. Some of these units may sound similar and they may be taught together or collecting evidence to go to different units. But basically it states what this is about. It then goes on to talk about your entry level, any the different sorts of things that you need to be able to do this unit. So a certificate 4, they look at different levels of qualification and where you actually sit and how you get assessed on the units in the assessments. So the competency breakdown in the application of this goes through, tells you how, the why, the where, and also that it stipulates in just about every unit now that cadastral surveying must be undertaken under supervision of a registered surveyor.
Registered or licensed?
Oh, so, yeah, licensed. Yes,
it does say registered
it.
or licensed. I had to go through every document, all through the training package, to make sure that it was very, very clear that just because you have a certificate or a diploma does not mean that you can run out and do boundary definition. Okay, you still need to undertake under a registered, licensed, or endorsed. I mean, oh my goodness, in South Australia, they're registered and licensed. You're all killing me with your terminology.
We'll move on from that conversation. Okay, competency breakdown of a unit. Every unit will look something similar to this. We will have your elements and performance criteria. So the first task is planning your surveying. It then breaks it down even more. So you're identifying, you're interpreting, you're reviewing, you're selecting and checking, you're identifying hazards, executing the survey task, setting up, adjusting, operating the equipment, the software, working with people on site, complying with any organizational, legislative, manufacturer, working safely, all that kind of stuff. Calculating your data. So reducing and manipulating, confirming that everything's okay, checking it against any requirements that was asked of the job, validating and recording your measurements. And then lastly, you've got your finalize your surveying tasks. So finalizing it, recording, document, data storage, packing up your equipment, reporting any issues, complete your documentation, storing your data, all that sort of stuff. These are all the things that we have to tick off to say that you're competent in doing. Not just 1 or 2 out of each of those. We have to ensure that you meet all of that criteria. As well as meeting all of the criteria in that unit, we then have to go into the performance evidence, which is our assessment. So we have to ensure that you meet all of that. And now we also have to say, we're going to assess you. And this is how we're going to assess you. So to demonstrate competency, a candidate must meet the elements and performance criteria for this unit using 2 different surveying tasks. So we don't assess you once, we have to assess you twice to ensure that you're competent in this task. It tells you you can use certain types of surveying equipment depending on what you're doing. So you have the options of your GNSS, your laser scanning, unmanned, as well as your typical normal instruments collection. Candidate must use 2 of the following while capturing or setting out surveying data using each of the above surveying tasks. And within that, you've got to use either your compass, data recording equipment, your maps, your images, a measuring wheel, handheld laser measuring device, measuring tape, prism and pole, level staff, retro targets. It's giving you options to include that information into your assessment. To be competent in this unit, a candidate must demonstrate the knowledge within the unit. You need to be able to identify the types of functions, limitations, methods of setting out. So not only will there maybe be assessments, you may have to do some form of test or verbal assessment, ticking off that, yes, you've discussed this with your teacher or your assessor or your supervisor or whatever it may be. So there are so many different things within a unit, and this is one unit out of 15 in the certificate 4. And then we move on to the diploma with 16 units. So you can see that there is a lot that we have to ensure that we cover to be able to make you competent within the unit. That's the brief breakdown of the unit, of the delivery of what we're trying to achieve. Michelle, have you got anything else before I go through this?
No, there's a couple of questions which we'll cover at the end, but
Okay.
You can see that we're trying to, I just also want to say this is exactly what TAFE should do, and this is what RMIT do, and this is how the system works, okay? What we're showing you is not unusual, and this is exactly what should be happening at the TAFEs everywhere. After the training package was developed, we went to all the TAFEs and said, hey, how about we get together and develop the content together? And they said, no, we have to do our own. And so we've done our own, and we've actually made sure that we've had input from you guys, and a number of you are actually on this call, to have that input and make sure that we are collecting and assessing what is actually needed for you to be able to do the job. So go ahead, Peter, and then we'll take some questions.
Okay, so briefly, my final notes on the Academy and what we're doing. I work for CSN. I work for industry. Your feedback of what we do and how we do it is critical to the success of the Academy. I've got my council together and discuss things with them either all together or individually. The only educational place that I have heard about that has done any industry contact is RMIT in Victoria, which was really surprising. This is developed by surveyors for surveyors. And the issue we have is that the employers, you guys, need people on the job, on the ground. This is why we've developed it this way, so that you're not sending them away, losing time. On the job for me, from what I've learned, is critical to your training. We're here for you. If you don't tell us what you need, then we won't be able to deliver. So it's going to succeed. It will succeed, but it is going to succeed if you guys get behind us. Thanks.
Thanks. We might stop sharing the slides now and just answer a few questions. I also just, you can leave that up there so that you can all fill out your expression of interest. Leave your final slide up, Peter, so they've got contact details. Michael Ward has been involved in this. Michael Ward is a registered surveyor in New South Wales. He's been directly involved in the content. We've had registered and licensed surveyors involved in this process and endorsed, Kieran, Queensland, yeah, some of you. And we've had them involved in this process, and we've had some diploma level students and past students involved as well. Really important that we do have whole of industry and from around the states all states and territories have been involved. So really fabulous feedback that we have had. There is a question here about the subsidies. So right now, if you apply through TAFE, you go through TAFE. So because the course is accredited to be run through TAFE, TAFE is the RTO that delivers the vocational education qualification. Now, we will be applying to get the same subsidies. We have to wait. There's a process about this. ASQA signs off and says, yes, you can deliver the course. Then we go to the state training agencies and we say, we would like to apply for the subsidy. They say, okay, you signed off by ASQA. Sure, no problem, tick. Now, of course, you know, I wish that it was all that simple and it'll take a week. It may not. And so we'll get back to you about all of that. We'll keep you updated about what's happening, but we are talking to Construction Skills Queensland. Every state and territory is different. Traineeships will also be available. Again, every state is different. I'd like to have one national supplier of traineeships for surveying. There's only one traineeship offer in the ACT, which means that I'd have to go through that company to get everybody in Australia. So, you know, that's going to be tricky, but we are working on that. So the answer is yes to the wage subsidy and government funding, but we don't have it yet. We can't have it until we have an ASQA approved course. The expected duration of the Certificate 4 and diploma courses, Peter?
Yeah, so for both of them, we're looking at a year. We need to cover, the theory is what we need to ensure that we cover enough of, which is why it's one day for the Certificate 4, but it's a day and an evening for the diploma, so that we can ensure that we get the hours that are required for both courses within that year. So that's what we're aiming for.
So that's the plan. Any other questions, comments, feedback, thoughts? Share them now in the Q&A or the chat, please. You can scan that QR code that is on your screen, and that will take you to an expression of interest form that you can fill out to go on the waiting list. Note, I said the waiting list. Yes, the cost of the courses we expect to be in line with the equivalent of TAFE. So these are, just to clarify again, this is vocational education and training, and it is to be delivered in that framework. And so any RTO gets exactly the same subsidy by the government of their state. So it should be the equivalent of whatever TAFE is charging. That's how we have priced this. This is how we expect it to work. But again, we don't know how long it will take for those government agencies to give us that throughway to the funding. So we'll work on that as time goes by.
So you Certificate 4 is about, I think from memory, 10,250, with the subsidies that the student pays approximately 1,900-ish. And then the diploma is maybe 12,750 all up, and they have to pay about 4,000 or just over 4,000 for the course. So they get the subsidies from the government from that.
So, and we'll be encouraging the firms to pay that, just by the way, in case you're wondering who's going to pay that. Will the student pay it or the firm pay it? We're going to encourage you firms to pay it, because we are encouraging, when people come to us and say, I want to work in surveying, where should I go? We say, where do you live? Then we go to find a surveyor, and we find a surveyor within 10 kilometres of them, and we say, go and try these 5 firms. So we are sending candidates to you who are coming to us for the Surveyors Academy. We hope that you will deliver a valuable working experience for them. And if you don't know how to do that, then you can sign up for the Business Academy, but that's another webinar. Thank you to Brian. Brian Hammonds, we appreciate your input, and he's congratulated industry on doing this. So just to be clear, you know, this is an industry problem. We can no longer just wait for the educational industry sector to get their act together to deliver what we want. We as industry need to solve our own problems, and this is one of those ways that we can solve that problem. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, Scott, for your messages. Craig is asking, can we confirm the numbers again for the first intake? Where Peter said 25 to 30. You know, like, it's online. You can take 50. What's your problem, Peter?
No. I'm really, really sorry. No, I want to get it right.
So the first intake, we will likely take less, and right now Peter's capping it at 30 for both courses. So just as an example, we had one firm that said to us, you know, I've got 7 that I want to put through. Great. Can you have 7 people off work on a Monday? You probably really can't, can you?
Yep.
So you're going to need to look at putting 1 or 2 through the first one, you know, first certificate, and then 1 or 2 through the diploma. So, you know, and as we said, that will take up to 30. We're going to look at make sure we've got national coverage. We're also going to make sure that we look at, you know, the states and territories that don't have any coverage, all those sorts of things. So we will go through the EOIs and we will assess them based on need, and try to get them through that way. And we will be prioritising people who are employed. We have been approached by people who don't currently have jobs in surveying, and we say to them, go and get a job and come back to us about doing the training. So hope that answers that question. When will students be advised if they make it into the course or not? So most of you who are on the expression of interest list will be getting monthly emails from Peter right now. You would have just had one last week to say we still don't know. The application is with ASQA. We've been told 4 to 6 weeks. That means we should know by the end of March if it's within the 4 to 6 week period, right? So we will give you an update by the end of this month to say we haven't heard, or we've heard, and it's going to start here and it's going to start now. So we will be communicating to those directly who've expressed interest and via our regular CSN alerts that go out every Friday. Please read my emails. That's why I send them. No, I'm not just promoting events and things that you should come to, though you really should come to them. I'm trying to get information out to you. So we will make sure that students are advised in a timely manner as soon as we know what's happening. Great. Okay, good. Thank you for that feedback. And we are just about on the 1:30 mark. So I'm going to say thank you all very much. We appreciate your time and attention. We want to really thank all of you because we couldn't do this without the industry. We couldn't do it without our firms. And this is not just for CSN members, though naturally I encourage membership as the CEO, but it's for everybody. And we are just trying to make sure that we have skilled and qualified surveyors operating around our country. So thank you all for your interest today. Thank you for your interest in the Surveyors Academy, and we look forward to providing you with an update in the coming weeks and months. Thanks, everybody.